Hello everyone. The iPhone 12 mini has just came out, or the 13 has came out a while ago, but I guess let's go and see how both these phones kind of compare in 2024. Now both these phones are many years old, so they didn't just come out. I'm not lying about that. But I love both these phones a lot, and I do think they had a lot of stuff and brought a lot of stuff to the table. But let's go and see how both of them compare right now. If you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these devices, the iPhone 12 mini, which came out in 2020 on the front, has a 5.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. And it's a very good panel. I like the screen a lot, and I do think for the most part, it's a very good looking phone. I still think it looks very, very relevant and has a lot of capability and a lot of good stuff, which I'm really happy about. You have a little bit of you have the notch on all these phones, but it's still, comparative to the size, it's not terrible, but it's still funny. I think we're going to look back 10 years from now and be like, why did even Apple do this? I mean, we know why they did it, but I feel like they overextended how long they've done something like this. 60 hertz display, still a fairly high resolution display at that, but it's still a very good looking phone and still feels very, very premium when it comes down to it. The iPhone 13, this phone also is a very good looking device. I mean, this thing looks very, very good. It's a bigger phone than the iPhone 12 mini. You're getting a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this thing's a very cool display too. I mean, I like this display a lot, which is nice. You're getting the notch up top. It's a little bit slimmer than the iPhone 12 minis, so not the biggest deal in the world, but it's a little bit slimmer. You're also getting, I guess, the same amount of bezel all throughout, but 60 hertz display is still a very good looking phone. And once again, there's not really that much to complain about here with either one. They look very similar. It's just the 12 mini is a much smaller phone when it kind of comes down to it. In terms of kind of the thinness and thickness, same type of thickness, I would say. There's not really a big difference there, but you can clearly see that the 12 mini is a much smaller phone in pretty much every single angle. The 12 mini completely sits inside of something like the iPhone 13, which is pretty wild. You're still getting the buttons in the same ways. You're still getting like the SIM card trays and everything in the same spot too. On the bottom, lightning ports right there with speaker grills. At the top, nothing else. On the back side, you can clearly see that very similar type of layout. My iPhone 12 mini is completely cracked, by the way, but you can kind of see that both of them are fairly similar. Wide and ultra-wide cameras right up here, so pretty good stuff there, not really too many differences. You are getting wireless charging on both, MagSafe capability on both these devices, which is really, really cool. IP certification on both as well, and overall, I would tell you, both these phones in a lot of different ways, I think dominate in a lot of different ways. Like, I do like these phones a lot, and I do think if I'm going through and purchasing some sort of device, I think they kind of, did a really good job for the most part. They're not perfect or anything, but I do think for the most part they're very good phones, and I do think that's a very good thing going on for both these devices. So from that particular perspective, that kind of covers it up here. Now, in terms of the other side of things, like with software and performance, I definitely would tell you with the iPhone 12 mini, the performance on this particular device, I mean, it's great, and we'll get into that in a second, but the software updates on this phone are still here. You're still going to be getting a supported phone on the iPhone 12 mini, which is very, very important. You don't want to just go ahead and buy a phone and already have it outdated with software, and that's basically what's not happening here. Like, this phone is going to be supported with software for a long period of time, and I do think that's a very cool thing going on for this particular device. With the iPhone 13, this particular phone is also still going to be here for a couple more years, and the iPhone 13 does have a higher likelihood of being supported with software longer than the iPhone 12 mini. So if I'm going through and if I'm purchasing some sort of new device, I definitely want it to have a long-lasting software experience, and definitely with something like the iPhone 13, it's going to be giving you a longer lasting experience on this device than for something like the iPhone 12 mini. So from that side, that kind of covers it up here as well. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 13 has that Apple A15 body chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 12 mini has that Apple A14 body chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one's a faster phone between both. Hopping out of both of these, you can see all apps are cleared out in the background. So let's get into it. Let's do phone calls 3, 2, 1. Okay, I totally messed up the first one. I was adjusting these, so let's go and load it up in the background of both. Let's do music 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Let's go and do mail 3, 2, 1. Perfect. App Store 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone 13 was a little bit faster there, but still very, very close. Scrolling through, let's see if there's any big differences, which I don't really think there's going to be, but we can still kind of check it out, and there's really not that big of a difference here. Hopping out of these two, let's go and do photos 3, 2, 1. I think the 12 mini was slightly faster there. That was very surprising. Hopping out of these two, let's do some third-party applications. Do we have Subway Surfers on the iPhone 13? Let's go and see. We do 3, 2, 1. No, definitely not even that big of an application, but it's still fun to test out these things and see which one's faster. So the 13 did get into it fairly fast. The iPhone 12 mini a little bit slower. Not really too sure why there was that big of a difference here, but you can kind of see what's going on here as well. And basically kind of the same thing. Let's go and hop out of here. It's going to get into stack 3, 2, 1. And sometimes it loads into the ad. So, but you can see the 12 mini, I think, was probably the faster one here when it came down to it. The 13 again was slightly slower, so that was very surprising. Tempo run 2, 3, 2, 1. And again, with these types of apps, definitely not the biggest apps of all time, but they definitely do kind of showcase some things here and there. Now, the 12 mini, okay, I take that back. So I was about to say the 12 mini was doing a really good job. This one, it kind of slowed down a little bit. But you should see on average the 12 mini doing a slower job than the iPhone 13. It's very surprising to me that so far the iPhone 12 mini has overall been doing a better job than I initially thought, which was actually very, very surprising. Now you can see even from there in the beginning, it did kind of glitch up a little bit, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. Like, we totally kind of get it. We have the files application right here, 3, 2, 1. About the same thing. Contacts 3, 2, 1. Let's go and hop out of here. So stocks 3, 2, 1. So on the average, I would say for the most part, a device like the iPhone 12 mini is probably going to be giving you an overall better experience. The iPhone 13 is going to be giving you an overall better experience, but the 12 mini has been showcasing that it's kind of been faster sometimes here and there than the iPhone 13, which is very surprising to me. So from that perspective, pretty crazy stuff. Now from the camera side of things, I will tell you, very good cameras on both, but there was a pretty significant change, I would say, in the direction of both these cameras from one year to the other. So they both have wide and ultra-wide sensors. They both give you 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which is nice. And overall, they're not terrible cameras. You know, they're both very good cameras when they come down to it. But it is interesting because the 12 mini was a different type of camera than the iPhone 13. And I'll talk about that in a second. With the 12 mini, I would say this camera was very much a continuation of the iPhone 11's camera. Very, very similar type of styling. There really wasn't anything super crazy between this one and the iPhone 11, if I'm being honest, as far as I can tell. You had video mode, slow mode, time lapse. You had, portrait mode, panorama mode. Lots of good stuff. There really isn't that much to complain about here with this particular phone. I think it's pretty cool. You had 0.5x there. You had 5x there. So overall, like a pretty interesting device when it came down to it. Definitely not perfect by any means. With the iPhone 13, this was a very, very solid camera, and it definitely was a bigger camera update than the 12 was from the 11. So with this type of camera, you are still maintaining 0.5x zoom and 5x zoom, which is really nice. But you are getting video mode, cinematic mode, slow mode, time lapse, getting photo mode and portrait mode. So this is still a very, very, very good camera, and it is a much better camera, I would say, than the iPhone 12 mini. So if you're wanting the better camera, definitely it's on the iPhone 13 for sure. And if I'm being honest, a device like the iPhone 13 in every single way is probably going to be the better phone. It's going to be giving you better performance theoretically, but it really wasn't today. Better cameras, not better build quality, but I do think the battery life is going to be better on the iPhone 13, and the better camera features, the software features that this phone's going to be getting, and the longer lasting support that the 13 is going to be giving you is probably going to be better than the iPhone 12 mini. I think the iPhone 12 mini was surprising today. I'm surprised that this phone did so well in so many different ways. But if I'm going to go ahead and recommend a phone to people, it's probably going to be the iPhone 13 over the 12 mini. So that pretty much covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that helps me so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.